go, money talk.
Here comes the money.
Alrighty, welcome back to the Diamond Mounter channel. Or if you're new to me, this is the first time you clicked on one of my videos, thank you very much. I'm Chris Bilton, I'm a jeweller from London. I've got 24 years experience as a professional jeweller making high-end bespoke pieces. I've left that life now I'm living in Japan, so I've got my own little setup here at home and I'm making jewellery making instructional videos for YouTube, trying to document everything I've learned over the years to benefit other people and help get this handmade jewellery trade like kick-started back into existence, because it appears it's kind of died out a little bit over the years with the inventions of like 3D printers and just like CAD designed jewellery. It's all just quite commonly, I think, cheap tat quite a lot of the time. So I'm trying to bring back proper high skill handmade jewellery like it used to be like decades ago. I want to get more people making proper like nice handmade pieces. So my contribution to that happening is this channel. So thank you very much for watching. You can help spread the word by clicking like and subscribing. Okay, cool. Right, today, world of current affairs. Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies are back on the minds of many people, and Bitcoin especially has really grown in strength, and I've been a strong advocate for cryptos for a few years now. I got into it in 2018. I started buying a bit of Bitcoin, a bit of Chainlink, Ethereum and all that. Just tiny amounts. If I really, I believed in it, but I wish I really considered its potential more seriously, because I would have put more money into it, because it's grown so much. My first-hand experience of the power of cryptocurrency was back in March, when this year, when all the stocks had crashed, everything was like super low value. I put £1,000 onto a crypto called Chainlink when it was like £3.30, I think. No, less than that, no. I started buying it at £3.30. It crashed down. It went down to like £1.80 something. I think it was £2 something. I put £1,000 on it. That grew. Chainlink. It was a lucky one, because it grew and grew over a few months up to like £15. Like, it went crazy. I sold all of mine at £13, so I was kicking myself seeing it continue going up. But it was a good move because it did come back right down again after that. With my money, I bought a motorbike. So I really feel like I benefited from that crypto. If you buy crypto, there's a risk of it going down. Yeah, you need to have this investor mindset where if it goes down, you don't freak out. You just see it as lower value, a good opportunity to buy more if you really believe it's going to go up more in the future. So you got to get over that little hurdle if you're not used to investing in something that's a bit more risky than just putting it in your bank. Yeah, get over that first. And then as it grows and grows and grows, you've got a new challenge. You need to be the kind of person who doesn't take the money out when it's worth a lot more than you paid for it. Because there'll be people, you don't hear their stories, there'll be people who bought Bitcoin when it was so cheap, just tens of pounds each, but they sold it when it was hundreds of pounds each. They sold it all and they thought they did well, but it just kept going up and up and up. So if you buy Bitcoin, especially Bitcoin, there's a limited supply, and lots of big financial players all over the world now are buying into it. Like PayPal now is now offering an opportunity to buy cryptocurrency. I don't think you can, I think they just hold Bitcoin, I'm not sure the rules, and the charges are really high, so I actually don't recommend getting into Bitcoin through PayPal. But a big institution like PayPal, if they believe in cryptocurrencies and they are offering an opportunity to work with it, it's a green light basically for all other financial institutions to get involved as well. And there's a MicroStrategy, what's the other one? JP Morgan, who dissed Bitcoin severely for years. They've now completely changed their tune, and they're now going to offer investors to Bitcoin. JP Morgan, by the way, is the biggest bank in America. What else? Grayscale, which is the world's authority on crypto investments. They've bought so much Bitcoin. They own something like 2.5% of all the Bitcoin in flow around the world. It's crazy what they've got. And then if Bitcoin goes up a little bit, they own so much Bitcoin and the value goes up so much, their whole company is worth more. I think that happened with MicroStrategy. They made more money this year than they've made it in the previous 3 years just from getting involved in Bitcoin. So it's a really powerful thing for big businesses. So you can see like banks all over the world are all going to get into it, and basically it's like a FOMO, fear of missing out. It used to be just us retail traders that would do that. As the price went up, we'd all go, oh my God, I'm going to miss out. And then we buy into it. Banks are doing that now, like all over the world. And you can rest assured, like it's going to be something that all banks, all institutional financial services, they're all going to be offering Bitcoin or some sort of cryptocurrency or digital currency in one way or another. So it's coming, guys. And rule 101 of like investing, if there's a limited supply of something and more people want to buy it, more than the demand is greater than the supply, the price is going to go up. So buy Bitcoin, don't sell it. I personally bought more Bitcoin than ever before this year. I recently just put 100,000 yen on Ethereum, which I think is the second most sensible crypto to buy at the moment. So to the main reason for this video, we're going to make an actual physical Bitcoin, and the point of the video is I want to try a new soldering technique. If you're joining two flat bits of metal together, ideally you want like a sort of design on a flat plate, something on a cufflink or whatever. If you add solder to the side of it, even if you do it perfectly and the solder floods in exactly where you want it to, where the solder, a little tiny piece of solder touched, it's gonna be a little mark there. It's gonna be a little bit of solder. So you have to clean it up with rubber wheels. Even rubber wheels and these little paper discs I always go on about, they need polishing afterwards. So you're risking making little imperfections. I want to just be able to put something on something flat and just have solder flood around it perfectly, and so it just needs a little light polish afterwards. So I'm hoping this technique, something I've thought of, is gonna work. All right, first of all, you need to get yourself a photocopy of a Bitcoin logo. I just googled Bitcoin logo and then found this one. It was a circle. I don't know why my photocopier chopped the ends off. This is a bit bigger than I wanted, but basically you make it a coin, so make it coin size. What's this, like about an inch or something? Comes out massive, so I just printed it and then I reduced it. Yeah, this is about an inch. Never mind. Getting a design on paper and then gluing it to a sheet of metal when you cut it out is might sound a bit crude, but actually works really well. So I've done this plenty of times in my career. So I'm doing it again now. So we're just going to cut out a flat B out of a sheet of metal. Okay, there's my plate. Mine's about 0.8 mil. You want it not too thick, but it's got to have a certain amount of thickness to it because it'll be nice to be able to file across it and buff it without worrying too much. Make sure your design is going to fit on there. Mine just about does. This is a bit bigger than I wanted to do, but it's what my photocopier was giving me, so I just left it at that. So yeah, now we're gonna, any kind of cheap like stick glue is usually good enough. When I say glue stick, I mean like that kind of stuff. Yeah, make sure you line it up nicely. You can hold that up to the window, to the light, and then you can see the metal around it, behind it, or you can draw on the back when you can see the design easier. Just whatever you want. Use your common sense. Okay, so that's in position. You could just wipe a bit of glue on there and hold that down and do the other side. Or if you're confident, just glue on that. I don't know why I'm telling you how to use a glue stick. Just glue it on there. Okay, it's my plate. Lovely. So nice clear lines. So obviously, just be careful because that glue is not that strong usually. So be kind to it. Try not to do what I just did and accidentally pull up the edges. Yeah, now you've got your design. You just cut it out. It's a nice clear edge. Usual things apply. If you're confident, you can cut right up to the line, so it just needs a slight file, or cut away and then you can slowly file up to it and get it nice and accurate. Be careful on any little points. You're gonna have to put a drill hole in there first. You might want to put one drill hole there, one there, just to make it kind of easier. Get a little kind of break point in your sawing. Yeah, just cut it out. Not too much to explain. If you can use a saw, you can follow a line. You'll be all right. Go in corners. I wouldn't try and go up to a corner and then go that way. I'd cut up to the corner and then cut it from this direction. So when you finish, if you do it carefully, you should be able to finish and get a nice sharp corner. If you try and turn the saw blade, you're going to end up with a little rounded bit, which you can do, I guess, as long as you do it without going over the edge. But it's just preferable, I think, neater, easier way to cut that way and then cut that way and get nice sharp corners. You might want to give some thought to, when you're cutting out a complicated shape, you want to give some thought to cutting out little delicate points last, or drilling out and cutting out these shapes first, because it's just easier to hold when you've got a nice big square chunk. Delicate bits are going to get in the way, or sometimes they're just sharp and painful to hold on to when you're working around the piece. So give it some thought to what actually you're doing. Also, I tend to, another tip, don't always have to put things on top of your peg. You can hold things under your peg and then push them up. It can be useful at some points. Obviously mind your fingers. The first jeweller to teach me when I started my apprentice was always cutting himself and getting injured, and I used to a little bit as well. It was just a bad influence. As soon as he wasn't teaching me, like another guy, he left, another guy was teaching me, he didn't have that character trait at all, and then I stopped hitting myself. And you don't do it on purpose, these are accidents, but it shows like how someone else's behaviour can affect you. So be careful who you hang around with, as I'm sure your parents or teachers might have told you. So if you hang around with Bitcoin investors, you're going to be investing in Bitcoin before long. By the way, I'm not a financial advisor. Yeah, I know, it's a shock, right? So if you're new to cryptos, there's quite a lot to learn. You can do your own research. If you put money on Bitcoin and it goes down 5%, then you panic and sell it all and lose some money, that's not my fault, that's on you. My advice is buy it and then don't even really look at your account until like well into next year. Same with putting money into funds. Like I used to put money into Hargreaves and Lansdowne Global Growth Fund, and that was actually really good. But the idea is it's not somewhere to put money in, expect a gain and then take money out. You should just put money in and you should just put more money in. Like literally, like every time you get paid, obviously if you can afford it, every time you get paid, put like a percentage in into that fund, and that's the easiest way to invest. You haven't got to pick stocks or anything like that. You just put the money in the fund and then let the experts do it for you. And that Global Growth Fund was actually really good. And it was actually the money I had in there, which I took £1,000 out to put on Chainlink because the prices of all cryptos had gone down. I took some screenshots. I remember showing my wife, like Bitcoin was like down to like 4,200 or something, and I was like, look at that, you'll never see it that cheap again, and like you should buy some. And I've been reminding her over and over again all this time. She still hasn't bought any. It's like tripled in price. But yeah, like the growth fund, you just put money in. It can literally just grow and be your pension. If this is all kind of new language to you, like just research it a little bit. Check out what compound interest is. It's quite interesting. And when you actually put your own money into something and see it working, it's quite amazing. There's another reason why I love YouTube. I learn a lot of this stuff just from YouTube videos. They certainly don't teach you it in school. I wish I knew it all when I was much younger. Okay, so I cut that out. Looks nice and neat, yeah. Your one may look the same, like you followed the line really well. Yeah, turn it around. They never look very nice on the back. So also I wanted to mention, in previous videos I've said I don't like pushing a spike into metal to get a little guide for a drill. In this instant I'm quite happy to do that, but on a piece I don't like really squashing pressure onto something I've made with a lot of solder joins. I would start with a tiny ball phrase, just zip, put a little dot in it, and then the drill can sit in that. But in this instance, I quite happily just wallop. Cutting out this, yeah, it's a bit like, well, it's cutting out a letter, and there's something you may, well, it's something you're quite likely to be doing as a jeweller, an employed jeweller, self-employed, whatever. People like little letter pendants and whatever. So if you make this Bitcoin, it'll be a good practice for that. Although a letter pendant, I wouldn't go as thin as that, unless you're putting like a gallery edge around the back. You've got to give them a bit of any letters or sometimes a word. It's something I may do a video on. Got to have a decent amount of thickness, and then you have to be careful with the design. There's not any thin spots because they can be prone to bending, especially like a script, joined up writing word, like a name. I'm going to pull that. I've got up to the corner. I'm pulling back a bit to turn my blade, and then I'll clean up the corner after. Basically, when you're turning you'll go around a sharp corner, just keep sawing, even though you're not moving forward. You have to saw, and then you can move forward. Otherwise, you're just twisting the blade. It's going to break. If you want to do these skillfully, finish them very nicely, there's a lot of work to do tidying up the edges. You can't just leave it all crappy. Really, there should be no file marks anywhere around it. Right, I'm just going to go around this quickly. Just to remind you, I'm only doing this so I can test out my new idea for soldering. How was that B? Was that rounded in there? I think that was rounded, wasn't it? So yeah, I'll just quickly go around it, get it kind of neat, and then that'll do. And then what we're going to do, get a round disc, and then that's going to sit on the disc. So I'm just tidying up the corners, and I'll get all the straight bits straight. And then I'll show you what I mean with my new idea. I've literally spent 15 minutes going around it. I'm not going to, just with files, I'm not going to bother papering it, because to remind you, the idea of this video is I'm testing out my new soldering trick. So that'll do. It's not perfect, like that gap's bigger than that gap. That needs lowering, that corner needs sharpening. This is tilting up there. And it's rounding off a bit nicer. Like if this was a proper piece, I'd do a lot more work on that, but it's good enough for this video. So yeah, what I might do is I might leave this buffed finish just for the contrast, and then the plate I put it on I might polish. So I'll at least buff this quite nicely on the top, at least anyway. This is the only bit of plate I've got, and it's really thick, but to save time, I'm just gonna cut my disc out of this plate. Also, make a proper coin, you need two of these really, one on both sides. If this was a pendant, you could just make like a large wedding ring, and then have that fit in just inside it, soldered in at the corners. This is a Bitcoin, you've got to make a coin. So what I've done is I just kind of put that on there. I guessed my measurements. I want a bit of space around the whole B, so I've got this sort of measurement just sort of guessed halfway. So I am making sure it doesn't go over that edge. There we go. Right. Problem with that being thick, yeah, and quite a large disc, that's a long way I was just sawing. I was getting out of breath doing that. Hard work. So, right, this is going on there. I just want to tidy up that outer edge of this a little bit. That file, this one. If you can saw neatly on your line, it does save you time at this stage, getting it neatened up. If you've got loads of jagged bits, you've got a lot more work to file it round. So following that curve, keeping it flat, doing this motion. So I'm not going to put any flat spots on there. Come away from my line now. Because just see on the edge, my line I was following. There you go. If you've got a lot of work to do, I'd file this way to really get it down fast. Okay, like one trick, I don't think it fits, but if you've got a disc any size, if you can find any kind of like ball punch or collet punch where you've got the circle, if you can find one where it just sits on the edge, I know where it might fit. A ring stretcher. No, it's too big. Yeah, if you can just put it in something where it just fits and then just tap it gently, it just takes the corner off, but it gives you a really perfect circle. But you should certainly file it up as best possible first of all. Like, I could probably, if I can find something, maybe that's flat. I could maybe give it a tap in there like that, and then that'll get rid of that edge. Any inconsistencies with the edge, any imperfections, just knocks them flat a little bit. Right, so this is going on there. Now, if I was cutting up little bits of solder and just putting it on the edge, getting it to go in, yeah, it's fine. There's a chance, well, even if you don't make a mistake, that little bit of solder, there'll be tiny little spots that you have to clean up. And you can do it kind of neatly. Like I would use these little rubber wheels, just touch it very gently on the solder and then you polish it, but kind of, it's not perfect. You might get unlucky and have a little dip there and you can't polish it out, or polishing lines is very difficult to get it even all the way. You might have just polishing off the mop, you know, if you're polishing mop, you might have a few little lines going that way and you can't get rid of them because you can't polish it that way. If you do, you're rounding off this corner, and it's difficult to get it really perfect. So what I'm going to do is, my idea is, I'm going to phrase out gently a bit of meat from the back of this bee, and then touch solder in that little scoop all the way around. Not necessarily a channel going all the way around, but certainly spots of it. It's going to be hollowed out, and then I'm going to fill it with solder. Just all the way around it, just in all the extremities, in the difficult bits, and then file that flat again. So this is going to be perfectly flat, but loaded with solder inside. Then, when that's positioned on there, I can just hold it in position. You could even hold it with tweezers even, like that. And heat that up. The solder should flow out of where it's sitting behind there and just fill up all the edges. A little bit of guesswork. Don't want to go too much solder. Don't want to have not enough, because then you're back to just adding bits around the side again. So it's a bit of trial and error, but I want to try it and see if it works. I think it may work. I think I may not do it correctly, but the potential is there for it to be a good technique. I'm going to learn about how close to the edge to put it, how deep to go, how much solder to put on, how many spots do I need solder, channel better than having little dots space about. So there's a bit of practicing to do here, but I want to try it. I think if you're making like custom cufflinks or something, it's going to be good to know if this works or not. Load it up. Like double check your not doing it on the front before you start scuffing it up like this. Tell you what, it's not cutting very well. One of my new ones. I think this is a better one. Even if you hollow it out a bit and you don't put solder in a certain section, doesn't really matter, does it? I want some solder in there. I want some solder in there. Yeah, all these bits. Be careful not to catch and go around the edge, because that's obviously a problem. I'm working pretty fast and carelessly. I just want to try this. I've been thinking about doing this for quite a few months, and I wish I had done it when I initially thought of it, because Bitcoin has moved so much in the last sort of few weeks. I could now be sitting here going, see, I told you to invest in Bitcoin. I think it was like just breaking past $10,000 for one coin when I had the idea. Well, the idea was doing this, yeah, but Bitcoin, just creating an actual coin come after. A bit there as well. Alright, let's get a bit deeper. Obviously, the thicker your metal is, the deeper you can go, but I don't think it's too necessary to go that deep. Like I say, I'm kind of half expecting this not to work exactly, but if it does work, it's going to be mildly interesting for people who do this kind of thing. I think that might do me. This blowtorch is end of its life. You know, my old trusty old cheap thing. It's completely lost pressure, and I even put a new can on there. Just maybe it's the brand of cans, I don't know. Never used to do this. That's full power. Maybe when my cryptos explode in value, I'll take some money out and buy some soldering equipment. Right, Bitcoin, yeah, maybe it goes up times 10 over a few years. That's good gains, but it's the altcoins, you know, the alternative ones, the smaller ones, like Ethereum and the less sort of the less expensive ones, they've got potential to go up like hundreds of %. So Chainlink, Polkadot, Ethereum. I'll see if I can find, there's one called Yearn, YFI, that's new. It was crazy. Let me double check it before I start guessing all the figures. But it was mad what that one did this year. Okay, this is starting to flood, look. You can see blobs of solder all over that. I actually think there's nowhere near enough solder in there. Like there, that's not going to flood nicely all around there. I don't think I'm going to flood any solder up to there. I mean, I can't be bothered because I'm sort of running out of time. I think you should put solder, quite a lot of solder around it. looking at that now, I don't think that's enough. But I'll certainly try it. It's definitely going to stick to the metal, but I don't think I'm going to get this nice beaded edge all the way around it that I was hoping for. So don't hammer that. Like, we want to gently file it. Maybe this one's better. So we want to file all these lumps off so it sits perfectly flat, or very, very closely perfectly flat. This works, yeah. If you're doing this, get it all papered all around the edges, even get it, if that's polished, get the edges polished as well. And if that was soldered on perfectly with a polished edge, you will just look like such a high skill, very high, good attention to detail jeweler. But today, we're just testing this technique. Silver, every time I get it hot, it's going to go chalky white, so it kind of ruins it. I'm going to give this a quick polish before I solder it on. Again, silver kind of ruins it when you get it hot, but in gold or platinum, it would work really well. But I'm going to polish anyway, just get the little minor scratches out. Okay, so I'm deciding to have it set up in my tweezers like that so I can get heat underneath nicely. If this was smaller, like the size I kind of imagined I was going to make it, but I couldn't bother to change the settings on a photocopier, so I've made the whole job difficult for myself. If it was smaller, I'd make a kind of, get a square bit of wire, slightly wider than that, so that can go around the edge and that'll make it more like a coin. And that'll be a nice little finishing technique to make it more coiny. But purpose of this video, I'm just trying out this soldering trick. So I'm just leaving it like that for now. Right, I'm going to flux the whole thing. Again, silver, so can't really rescue it 100% because it's always going to go all like chalky white and horrible after soldering. But like gold or platinum, you can do this, potentially get it perfect. Get that perfectly polished, flux the whole thing. My good God, look how rubbish this is. Just flux the back of my B's, important. I'll try and position it half nicely at least. It's a circle, so I ain't got to worry about the rotation of it too much. Okay, that'll do. Put it down a bit, perhaps. I do it with the, even though this is really slow and low pressure, it might actually be a benefit to me. Because the whole thing will heat up kind of slowly. Less likely to get a bit this side flood and not the rest of it. I've got a pair of tweezers handy in case that for some reason pings out of my tweezers and falls in the skin and starts a fire. It's not ideal doing what I'm doing here with these tweezers, it's a little bit unsafe. Like I say, I don't think it's going to flood all the way around the edges, there's not enough solder on it for that, but it's definitely going to stick it to the plate and I want to see it bead to the edge nicely, at least in a few spots around it, and then I know the potential is there to work 100%. Yeah, as I suspected, nowhere near enough solder on it, but it is coming to the edge in spots. And it does look like what I want it to look, like a very thin little perfect little bead edge. The potential is there, people. I actually reckon holding it in tweezers, pushing it down might help. Let me try that while it's here all set up. Yeah, I reckon you've almost got to go over the top with the solder on the back. Make sure there's definitely enough, because if you haven't got enough to flood it all the way around your piece, you're basically doing it the way where you might have to add it from the side, and then you're likely to spoil it a little bit. Nah, same bits are flooded, I'm not getting any more coming to the edge. Alrighty, the idea works. What I did wasn't correct, but it works. The potential is there. You need to maybe not scoop it out as deep. You need to add plenty of solder. Really make sure your piece is sitting really flat, not lifting up slightly anywhere. And it should solder well all the way around. I'll see if I can show you close up. There's a part of it that's worked really well on this. Right, I'm hoping you can see this clearly. Like there, into that point, all the way around there, down there, like worked beautifully, is just what I wanted. Where's my 2 times loop? Worked really well around there, just what I wanted, a really nice little, tiny little edge of solder that is no problem at all to polish over. There seemed to be a bit of a gap, it sort of like it lifted up a little bit there, so it wasn't really the solder to fill it up. Inside this lower hole for the B worked really well. Potential's there, people. It's just really important this is polished nicely before you put it on, because obviously you don't want to be trying to polish out all these difficult bits. And silver just doesn't work, it just goes all like foggy and horrible like that. But yeah, the technique is a winner, I reckon. Just needs a little bit of tweaking on how you prepare it for soldering on. Okay, so yeah, thanks for watching. The video was me trying out this technique, and it has potential to work perfectly, but I didn't do it correctly. And I was saying quite long, there should have been more solder on the back of it to get it to flood all the way around. But yeah, the idea works. Basically, you want to take weight out the bottom of your piece you're putting on, just so you can get solder in there, and then file it back so it sits perfectly flat again, but loaded with solder underneath. Because you can't just put solder on, put it on top, but then it's lifting up, and there's a chance it can flood and go out of position slightly. So coming up with a way to avoid that, just take some weight out the back of your piece and then fill that space up with solder and then put it down nice and flat, and it should work very well. I recommend heating it from underneath, heating it slowly and just getting the solder to flood very gently around it. But I'm really happy with the bit that worked. Unfortunately, I didn't get it to go all the way around, but like I said, I should have put more solder on, and I knew that as I was working on it. But the idea works. Right, just checking Bitcoin prices today, November the 7th, the year 2020, we've got a high of $15,783.62. Basically, it feels like 16,000 is the resistance. I wouldn't be at all surprised if we hit $20,000 for a Bitcoin this year. We've got like the banks FOMOing in to Bitcoin. There's just a huge institutional adoption and mainstream awareness coming of Bitcoin, and now it's approaching its all-time high, even beating previous all-time highs. So I feel like there's more of a risk not having your money into Bitcoin especially, or cryptocurrencies. Bitcoin, it'll go up a bit, you'll make some money, but the altcoins are where you can really make money. Basically, you make your money in altcoins, but you keep your money in Bitcoin. You buy it and you don't sell it, you keep it. They call it hodling, holding on for dear life. Yeah, I'm expecting my Ethereum, which is a lot less than I've got in Bitcoin, to overtake it. It's gonna double, triple, quadruple over a short amount of time. So I'm just watching it, I'm interested in this kind of thing, just kind of fun. Once you get involved and you actually see your money grow, it's quite exciting, and then you get into it more and you learn more, and then you look for new ways. I will find my screenshots I took of when it all crashed back in like February, March, whenever it was. It's just quite funny to see how cheap it was then, and it was only a few months ago. And like now I just think, why didn't I just put more money in? But I took money out of my Hargreaves and Lansdowne Global Growth Fund to put into Chainlink, which was good because it grew so quickly. it allowed me to get a motorbike for kind of free, really, is what it feels like. So yeah, the potential of making money and really changing your life for the better is all there, and it's a special time in our civilization. Like the potential growth of cryptocurrency can really change your life in the future. And if you miss out on this, you're going to be kicking yourself, because a lot of people are going to get really wealthy from cryptos, but you've got to get in on it kind of pretty quick. You're already kind of late to the table, but it's not too late, if you know what I mean. So look into it, do your research, and get involved. Right, thanks for watching. Diamond Matt channel. Yes, we've passed 1,000 subscribers. I've hit the 4,000 watch hours within a 12-month period, allowing me to apply to monetize the channel. So I recently did that and it was accepted. So you probably notice if you flick through my videos, there are adverts all over them now. So a lot more than I expected. All I did was monetize yes button, and they've put loads of adverts all over my videos. So I hope it's not too disrupting to the viewing experience, but that's how it is. Right, yeah, cool. If you want to support the channel, the least you can do is hit like, then you can subscribe, then you can comment. It works for the algorithms, draws more people. YouTube will recommend it to more people. Best thing you can do is to join the Patreon page, which I'll put a link in the description. There's basically £10, £5 and £1 just to be a supporter of the channel. £5, £10 gets you access to the new videos 2 weeks before anyone else, plus a load more benefits. Failing that, if you don't want to hand over any of your hard-earned money, I totally get that. But you do want to help. Another way is to just share the videos and recommend them to other people, other jewelers. Yeah, cool. Diamond channel. Stay tuned. More videos coming very soon. Thanks for watching. Bye. Bye, Bitcoin.